In cybersecurity, we're really not trying to bat 1,000. We're really trying to prevent you from getting to third base.
I would imagine cybersecurity threats have grown exponentially. How is that affecting us?
If you get an alert that something happened 2 days ago,
Your way.
it's one thing to have a productivity tool on your laptop, but then there's another issue to where that tool is now on a rig to where someone can cause an explosion, cause blowout, or cause death. Find your most valuable asset and figure out how to protect that. And as long as it's on and connected to the internet, it's vulnerable. Even though it may not be on the public internet, it's still potentially attackable, exploitable.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of I Speak Subsea. In this episode, we're going to do a deep dive into cybersecurity. Today I have Garrick Rogers with me, cybersecurity manager here at Aquila. So Garrick, tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit of background, and let the people get to know you.
Okay, so hey everyone. So I started off in the industry way back when there was token rings and vampire taps. Everyone who remembers that knows that was a very, very long time ago. Right, so I started off in desktop support, then I moved over into network administration, database administration, web administration, and then often once we got into the term cloud and cybersecurity, network security moved over into cybersecurity, and so that I've been doing that ever since. For a recruiter once told me not to tell people how long I've actually been doing it, so I'm just going to say over 10 plus years.
Sounds good. Sounds good. So quite a bit of experience.
Yeah.
Awesome. So let's kind of dive into what cybersecurity is and what it isn't, just for people that don't know.
Most people, when they think of cybersecurity, they think about things they see on the movies or whatever. Some guy in a dark basement typing, going really fast on his computer or whatever, and there's like green letters and things on a black screen or whatever. But that's not really what cybersecurity is. That's not even really what hacking is, right? So cybersecurity is more of protecting, managing the overall risk to the organization from a cyber standpoint, from a digital standpoint. And so hacking can be anything from me and you sitting here now, I'm hacking into your laptop, or you sitting in a coffee shop somewhere, full of people, and someone is just in there actually trying to damage the Wi-Fi of that coffee shop, whatever. It's not, like I said, a single person in a basement somewhere. Like it can evolve to anyone next to you on the train, on the bus, or in the car next to you or whatever, right? So cybersecurity is managing all of those risks that are associated from a cyber attack. So that's basically what we're trying to do from our professional standpoint, is protect the organization.
Through my little bit of research that I've done, I've heard or come across a thing called the CIA Triad. What is that?
So just like you have a foundation for your building or your home or whatever, the CIA Triad is the foundation for our cybersecurity standpoint. The CIA stands for confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So when we're looking at data or resources in our organization, we're looking at how can an attacker impact the confidentiality of that data, the integrity of that data, the availability of that data, right? So let's say that, for example, you were talking. Let's say someone else is in this room, right, and you were talking to them, but you just had a message just for them, right? You didn't want anyone else to hear it. So that's the confidentiality of it. So we were trying to figure out how can we encrypt that so that no one else in the room, which is the public internet, can hear or see that data, right? So that's why we want to keep it confidential. The integrity of it is that when you're talking to that person, I'm not able to intercept that message and alter it in any way. So if you're telling them like, hey, we're going to throw Garrick a party today at 2:00. I can't intercept that and say, no, we're not going to throw Garrick a party ever because we hate him.
Gotcha.
And then the availability of it is whether that person can hear what you're saying, right? Because if there was a person in here, I could pump a bunch of noise in here, like extra music, throw some speakers in here, and that person would hear everything, including your message, but they wouldn't be able to process your message because there's so much other garbage and junk that's crowding their ear. Well, right. So that's where we can attack the availability of it, like with something like a denial of service attack. But we don't have to actually take it offline. We just have to make it so that that person can't actually hear what you're saying clearly. So if I can alter that, then I can alter the outcome of your business. So we have to make sure that all of our data, all of our functions, so like everything in the cloud, we have to make sure that everything is following the CIA, our databases, our transactions, from one rig location to our location, in the cloud. We have to make sure that all of that is covered from a confidentiality, integrity, and availability standpoint. That's the foundation of everything that we do. It is a lot if you look at it from a big picture standpoint, right? But what you want to do is you want to break it down into small chunks and small aspects of the business, right? So just like if you're doing a fixer upper of a house or whatever, right? You wouldn't just say, okay, well, we got to fix everything in the house, right? You say, okay, well, first we're going to break it down into the kitchen, the bedrooms,
Correct.
the living room, the outside or whatever. And you say, okay, well, what are we going to do for each one of these places? For like the kitchen, which is like on some shows I've seen, it's the moneymaker of the house or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So you're like, okay, well, we're going to spend more money in the kitchen, and we're going to do X, Y, and Z in the kitchen, and then we're going to then move over into the bedrooms. Maybe knock a wall out, put in a bigger closet, whatever. So then, if you look at it from that standpoint, it's not that big of a daunting of a task,
Yeah.
right? So just like uh, um, with like doing cybersecurity on a rig or whatever, you look at the IEC 62443, which breaks it down into different little sections. You can say, okay, well, here's a zone, here's another zone, here's another zone, or you follow like the NIST cybersecurity framework, where you say, okay, well, I'm looking at each one of these phases where I'm looking at identifying all of my assets, monitoring, detecting, preventing, then responding and recovering. So then if you look at each one of those phases, you're like, okay, well, it's not that big of a deal. It's still a lot of work to do, but we're going to schedule how we're going to actually do it so that we can eventually say, okay, yes, we're good on a certain standpoint.
Hmm. So you're just doing it room by room and then securing each room.
Yes, exactly.
Gotcha. Kind of going a little bit sideways. Cybersecurity and the word threats is very just bland, right? There's many different types of threats when it comes to cybersecurity. So threats, threat actors, threat models, different aspects. Kind of touch on that a little bit. What are the differences between threats, threat actors, threat models?
When we talk about um, threat actions, you have to look at uh, first of all, your business and who would benefit from harming your business or whatever, right? So the general terms of threat actors you have like cyber criminals, you have script kiddies, which really aren't kids. They're just people who are new to scripting and formulating and doing programming, whatever, right? So those are script kiddies. They can just go out and download something off of the deep web, the dark web, whatever you want to call it, and then just point it to you and just attack you and see if something happens, right? Um, Cyber criminals, they're either out for some type of monetary gain. Then you got hacktivists who maybe like if you're doing something and say you're in the oil and gas, right? They have a problem with oil,
Yeah,
so they want to deface your website or whatever. So those are hacktivists. Then you have overall nation states who maybe are just attacking you because of something like you're part of critical infrastructure, or they see a way to get some money. Like you're a big enough business to where if they do attack you, excuse me, do ransomware against you, they're going to get some money, right? So those are the threat actors. And then the biggest threat actor that we have is insider threats, right? These are people who are either um, upset employees or people who are just doing things that they didn't realize that they're doing them, right? So those are really the worst ones. Is I'm just doing this because I think it's great, but no,
yeah.
I'm opening up.
I'm opening up doors.
Yeah, I'm opening up doors or whatever, right? So those are the people that we want to look out for. And then the overall threat model that we look at is we take each one of those threat actors and figure out, well, how can they attack us, right? So we look at each room in the house and figure out, okay, well, how can someone get into my kitchen and what can they do in the kitchen now that they're in there, right? Can they just go over and open up my refrigerator and take anything out, or can they punch holes in the wall, or whatever? So we look at what those actors can do, and then we model that, and then we figure out how can we prevent them or detect them or even slow them down, right? Because in cybersecurity, we're really not, and this may come as a shock to some people, we're really not trying to bat 1,000. Right. We're really trying to bat, as close to 900 as we can, but prevent you from getting to third base.
Gotcha.
Right. So
Installing safeguards and different types of things to try to
exactly.
prevent
Yes.
barriers.
Yeah. Because you can't stop everything.
Yeah,
Right. It's just too many things going on out there that you can't stop everything. But you want to be able to try to limit the damage or limit the exposure of your data from those people. So it's kind of sort of like saying if I break into your house and I get to your kitchen and your cookie jar is on the counter, I get a cookie in my hand. Can I eat it? Or can I get out of the house with it? Right? You need to try to stop me from eating that cookie. Right, that's the goal of us. Is like, okay, yeah, you may get to the data, but can you get it out, or can you actually see it, or do anything with it?
Gotcha.
So that's where our threat modeling comes in. Is that we have to um, put in a place to where we can anticipate all of those different scenarios as best as we can, and then on the fly try to do something else.
So when it comes to that, the way things are now and how advanced technology is getting daily, I mean, how has that, I would imagine, I'm assuming that cybersecurity threats have grown exponentially. How is that affecting us? Like, is there training, special trainings that we do? Do we go through for our employees? Is there trainings they go through? I mean, how do we safeguard that? How do we stay up with the times?
So the main thing that we look at is um, from a from an individual standpoint, an individual employee standpoint, right? We say, okay, well, what are the different types of attacks that an attacker can do against a human element? And the main way is through some type of phishing email, right? So it's evolved now into not just phishing email, but also smishing, which is like sending you malicious SMS or text messages, also doing video calls or calling you. And with the advent of AI, just from this recording, just on this video here now, someone can get my voice and record it and now play it back to you and call you with it. And it sounds just like me. So we have to educate. We do the process of educating as far as phishing, and also taking into account that Garrick would never call you and say, "Hey, can you buy me some gift cards?"
Correct.
you know. I mean, yeah, that may sound plausible, but that's really, really crazy.
Yeah.
Like, why would Garrett call you and say, "Buy me some gift cards"? Or even Jose Ahmed, CEO.
Yeah.
Like, why would he call you out of the blue and say, "Buy me some gift cards"? He doesn't really need you to buy gift cards. So that's what we try to make sure that we do consistent education on phishing awareness. We do phishing simulations to try to show various attack methods and how a phishing email may look based off of the times or whatever. So like right now we have this um, ice storm coming here in Houston or whatever, right? So there's a lot of messages out there. So that would be a potential phishing attack for an attacker is sending you an email saying, "Hey, the National Weather Service has said blah blah blah." Click here to find out more about your area.
Yeah.
You're like, "Oh, okay, well, I might want to click here." But no, we have to train you to say no. You should not click on anything unless you hover over it and see where the actual link is taking you, so that you do know that. And if you do happen to click on it, then fine, it's not the end of the world. Here's the processes you need to follow if you did click on something. So we have to keep that constant education in of saying that this is the process that we need to follow.
Good. And that I can speak on myself. That training comes through quite a bit. Quite a bit. Here, at least. If you go to monitoring and incident response, how does, I guess, when prevention fails, how do we manage that? What do we do there?
So if an attacker does get past any of our defenses, right, we need to know. Right. So if you're not monitoring anything, then you'll never know what is going on in your environment. Right. So like right now we have a couple websites up. Right. If we're not monitoring, we'll never know that someone's banging on them all day long, and eventually they may get in. So if they do get in, or if they get in through your laptop or email or whatever, we then have to be able to get alerted to that. My team does have to get alerted to that, and then we have to respond accordingly based off of the actual incident. Um, so some alerts are just simply alerts, right? And they haven't actually escalated to become an incident. An incident is basically if you have an actual breach or a compromise, or the attackers inside the building, like they're inside the walls. So now we need to figure out how we're going to contain them from doing more damage than they've already done, and then how can we get them out, and then how can we recover from that breach. So that's what we look at from an incident response standpoint is, our main focus is containing the damage. If they get in, cool, they got in. We're that's fine. They're in, but they haven't actually done anything yet.
Yeah.
Right. So we want to prevent them from doing anything. So like if they get to the database, okay, fine. But can they get to the data inside of the database? Can they get it out? Can they decrypt it and then actually see what our actual data is? So that's what we look from an incident response standpoint is making sure that we respond timely enough. Because if you get an alert that something happened 2 days ago,
You're way
you know,
Yeah. Doesn't do
it's-
any good.
it doesn't do us any good.
They've already left the house.
Yeah, exactly. They own the house.
Yeah. Got so that's the importance and again here at Aquila we take that cybersecurity very seriously. So
Yes.
we have a team that is here built to do that. rapid response, if you will. So that's good. That's a very it's very eye opening though hearing it explained like that. More of using that analogy. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
If we talk, let's touch a little bit on AI. So AI as a productivity tool. Um, I guess how are they using that as an expanded attack surface?
So right now, when you look at your environment, right? So let's go back to your house, right? So you have your house, and your attack surfaces is the potentially all outside of the house, and then all doors, all windows leading into your house, and potentially some things on the roof or whatever,
Mhm.
right? So in a business, your attack surfaces either your laptops and your building, your Wi-Fi, your network, your internet coming in and out, your DNS servers, all that can be your attack surface. Well, with AI as a production tool now, it's coming in and saying, we're going to help you be more productive, but we need access to this data, to this and that, or whatever, right? So, like you see there's some tools that listen to your meetings, like on Teams or WebEx or Zoom or Slack or whatever. They can help with that. So they're collecting all this data, so then you have to say, well, where's that data going? Who's doing anything with that data? And then now that this tool is embedded into our environment, is this a new door into our environment as well? Right. So from a productivity standpoint, I mean, it's good because it does do what it does,
So it does help you.
but we just need to make sure that all the productivity tools, because there's like a ton of them out there for like like I said, meetings, helping you with Word, helping you with, your office tools or whatever, helping you do whatever you need to. So we need to make sure that those tools aren't opening us up for other attacks. And then the data that they collect isn't something like personal data, like PI, information about your name, your location, like it's not doing location services on your laptop or whatever, right? If all that is good, then it's cool. Then the attack surface is minimal there. From an attacker standpoint, from my team standpoint, right? AI is also another tool that we use. So an attacker can use AI to say, like in the beginning of time, a phishing email was something like um, Bank of America with America spelt wrong or whatever,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So now with AI makes a actual email can make an email look exactly like, say, the Department of Public Services from Texas or whatever, right? Everything looks fine, all the wording is fine, everything is spot on, right? And you're just like, oh, this is great. This is coming from DPS. Let
Yeah.
me respond to it, because that's what AI is doing. So an attacker can do that. An attacker can also craft without any knowledge or anything. Say, okay, well, give me an attack that would be based against uh, this type of web application, right? Whether it be on PHP or React or whatever, build me an attack for that. And within seconds, this person now has an attack tool that can be geared towards your application, towards your environment. Or even to say, I want to attack Wi Fi. How can I do that? Write me a Python script that I can run on my laptop when I sit outside their building. Easy.
That's scary.
Yeah,
That is scary.
it is. So now, a script kiddie with a couple dollars. There's some free tools, but if they subscribe to these services, they can just build a quick tool and say, "Do this," and now you have to be able to defend against that. Then on the other hand, from an AI standpoint, from our standpoint, we're looking at it like, okay, well, how can we do some things faster, right? Because a human is a human,
Yes.
right? If I see an alert, I got to go through our standard operating procedure of checking 5 or 6 different things or whatever. It may take me, 10, 12 minutes to check all those things or whatever. With AI, I might be able to have it done within a couple milliseconds, right? It runs through the entire playbook, gets everything, and then it can also then make a determination whether this is actual an alert, an incident, where the breach is, where the breach is coming from, if it's a known threat actor, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Right.
So it gets you and your team there faster to be able to stop that problem,
Yes,
potential
exactly.
problem.
So it's helping us all. And the same thing the same tools that's AI that's out there that an attacker can sign up for, I can sign up for. So we have the same mindset. It's just a matter of us wrapping our head around the fact that this is the world we live in now.
Yeah. Essentially good versus bad using the same tools.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. That's crazy. That is
Yes.
crazy. Again, that's scary that anybody off the street can just go and pay a little bit of money, type in,
Yes.
say, this is what I want. with no experience and then it just be spit out and do
Yes.
damage. That's crazy.
I mean, it's just like um, with vibe coding, right? You know, anyone off the street can go out and code an application. Like, you know, you see these folks saying, you know, I coded an entire application in, you know, one weekend, or coded an entire application in a couple of hours that would have normally taken months, right? So it's increased the speed to a product, but at the same time, it's does your code now have actual security checks in the code?
Yeah.
You know, because now I'm releasing code out into the world, but there may be vulnerabilities inside of it and issues that an attacker can try to exploit. Because now, you know, in a normal dev process now, like we have different sections, different gates of, okay, well, I've done this code, now I'm going to scan that code to see if there's any secrets, or I'm going to see if there's any loopholes, or if there's any bad libraries or whatever that you have inside of your code. Now moving from you know, theoretical code on my laptop to a staging environment. Now we're going to do more testing in that environment to test with. And then once it passes the stage, now we're in dev, now we're in production. You know, now we're in production is to, you know, we have to do more coding, but it's also out there in the world. You know, we have to actually run security tests in the actual real world and see if it can handle the load, if we can do other types of attacks, because now we have an infrastructure around that actual code as well. So with vibe coding, some of that is missed because, you know, you're going from theory of you write a good prompt saying, I want you to build me an application that does blah, 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 right? It builds it, spits it out for you, and then it can even deploy it to, you know, one of these cloud services for you to actually be like, boom, I can have customers this afternoon. Well, is your customer data protected? You know, how is it? How are they authenticating? Is my session management? Can an attacker try to imitate an attack someone else by stealing their session cookies or session tokens? You know, because just like you sign up for a service, I can sign up for it too as an attacker. And I can see the same thing that you see, right? So I can see how it's all built. And now I can try to impersonate you because I'm also signed up for the same service as you, and I'm studying it. I'm trying to, you know, reverse engineer the whole process.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
When it
that's
came,
that's what we have to look for, is those vulnerabilities, where a vulnerability is just like a bug or a flaw in your actual code, right? It's more of, you had an intended purpose of something, but now I figured out I can also do the intended purpose, but I can also do an unintended purpose as well, right? With the same thing that you have set up. So now I'm exploiting that vulnerability. That's what I'm looking for.
so that's crazy to think how many people, like especially nowadays, how many people have just spit out now that they can do it, spit out these different platforms and whatever apps, and it's people need to do their research on that, I guess. Well,
Yeah.
how was this created? Is there any security in it? Am I putting my social security number in here? Am I putting my home address,
Yes.
cell phone number, everything like it? How easy is somebody to be able to steal my identity from this?
Yes.
That's
Exactly.
it's yeah, when you think about how it used to be versus it is how it is now, there's a lot that goes into it that I don't think people really think about. I don't think that's been a common without the training and the awareness, it's I think people are still got that old school mindset.
Yeah. I mean, AI is a great tool, but it's just like a hammer, right? Um, if you're not using it right, you're gonna teach your thumb or your finger, right? When you're nailing that nail, if you're not using that tool properly, you're gonna bang your arm, bang your hand, or whatever. But with AI, if you are using it properly, putting in proper security measures, then it's a great tool.
How would you compare cybersecurity? Would you compare it to like a nuclear arms race, or is this something that is going to be just a back and forth for the rest of the time?
Any invention that has been created by humankind, all right, it was always invented for some type of a good. But then someone came along and said, you know what? I can do some bad with this same invention, right? So the same thing with AI. AI came out and it's generally supposed to like help the world or whatever, right? Help solve some issues or solve some crises or whatever. But then someone figured out like, hey, I can also use it to do bad in the world, right? And so now I'm going to either spin off my own and do bad, or I'm going to use the first one, the good one, but I'm going to put in a couple different parameters that's going to make it bad, right? It's going to spit me out something that I can use for bad, something for evil or whatever. So Yes, it will come down to a tit for tat arms race in that, an attacker is going to come up with something that is going to attack me. And now I need to figure out how can I come up with another tool or another method to actually um, weather that storm of all these different attacks that are coming towards me, but then also be able to defend myself or help monitor or help mitigate some of those breaches or whatever. Right. And then the attacker's gonna be like, okay, well, we have this next generation of the tool that can do X, Y, and Z on top of what we're already doing with A, B, and C. So now I'm going to attack you again with X, Y, and Z, and still attack you with A, B, and C. And well, over here, I'm only being able to defend against A, B, and C. Now I need to figure out, okay, now I need to defend against X, Y, and Z. So now I need to use the tool again, improve the tool, improve the AI to help me come up with craft a new message or whatever. So it's going to be, as long as it's open and available for everyone, and now that the technology is out there, I can build my own, right? No one can actually stop me from using my AI to for use it for only for good. All right. Now, some of the bigger companies that are out there, yes, they can try to say, okay, well, we look for keywords or parameters. Like I can't go and say, I can't go to one of the big three and say, hey, give me a phishing email that I can use to steal money from someone. They were like, no, those are parameter, those are, that prompt is outside of my parameters. And it seems like you're up to something that shouldn't be
Yeah.
done. All right. But I can go out and build my own and use their LLM or their model and then come up and say, okay, well, do this for me. And it's going to go out and research and find out all of the different um, scripting methods or what an actual phishing email looks like or a method to actually figure out how can I make the HTML email look convincing and it also make the link defeat the tool that I'm using. All right. So that's just going to keep going and going and going. It's never going to actually come to a standpoint of a stalemate because again, for every good that a tool was made for, someone can figure out a bad for it as well.
Correct. Yeah, I kind of feel like it's always going to be one up in each other. It's always going to keep advancing, and the way technology keeps advancing, there's always going to be something new. There's always going to be a workaround. There's always going to be something that you're
Yeah.
combating against.
Yeah, because if you look at your defensive, like say your the software that we have on your laptop or your MacBook to protect against it, there's always going to be updates and signature files or whatever, simply because every day there's a new attack that someone has come up with. Like right now, if you look at like say nation states, they have people who clock in at 8 o'clock in the morning. All they do all day from 8 to 5 is try to figure out a way to get into your environment, try to figure out how the way to get into the software that you're using on your laptop because they bought the same software,
Yeah.
right? So they're sitting there trying to bang on it all day from 8 to 5. They write up their report at 4:30, clock out at 5. The new shift comes on at 4:45, picks up where they left off, and then it keeps going on for for all day long to the next shift when you come back to tomorrow. Excuse me. And you pick it up again. So it's constantly changing all day.
But they're constantly, I mean, they're doing that to find the vulnerabilities to fix it before and try to put up barriers before somebody else finds them, right? That's so they're putting in that time and that effort to
Well, some of the bigger software companies have that.
yeah.
Have a department that actually does research like that. Like that's all they do is they do some type of red team or some type of threat research against their own product or whatever, right? Like here we do the same thing. Like we look at all of our tools, all of our applications that we provide to our customers, and we figure out how can someone break into this or how can someone use this for bad, right? Because um, it's one thing to have a productivity tool on your laptop that helps you do some type of something around the office or whatever. But then there's another issue to where that tool is now on a rig to where someone can cause an explosion, cause a blowout on a well, or have the drill head break or whatever, or the pipe for the drill break because they moved the ship or whatever. Or cause an explosion to cause death or whatever, right? So we still need to test all of our software to make sure that we're not the problem that caused something on that rig, right? So, but an attacker is doing the same thing. They've subscribed to our service, right? They've imitated an actual customer wherever, um, maybe quite convincingly, um, but not from one of our customers because simply we talk to each one of our
Yeah.
customers, right? But say if I have a service that's online and I'm just selling something online and everyone's just able to access it from anywhere in the world, then yes, definitely an attacker has subscribed to your service and is now trying to figure out how can I hack into this software and now become either someone else or take it all the way down or steal data from them.
That's a lot. There's a lot there. And I think, I mean, it's good to know that that's how we operate here. We've got people that are looking for those vulnerabilities. Right? We have a team for that. It's it still again makes me a little more hesitant on when I download an app off the
Yes.
marketplace or whatever. So that, I mean, that's good information. Good information for everybody out there. Uh, Kind of be more vigilant in what you're doing and what you're downloading. So let's, I mean, you kind of touched on oil and gas a little bit. So let's go there. So cybersecurity in extreme environments. So deep water rigs. What do we do for cybersecurity there?
You can go back to like they said the ISA IEC 62443, right? Which is like you can look at a framework of saying, okay, well, this is what we want to try to do. This is the guidance we're giving you as far as like protecting the rig, or no matter what type of rig it is, whether it's floating or stationary or whatever, right? You want to try to again look at your risk. So break down each section of that rig, right? From steering control or fire suppression or even the galley or the kitchen or whatever you want to call it,
Yeah.
right? So break all that down and figure out, okay, from a attacker standpoint, what can an attacker do? What is the risk associated with each one of these little zones or sections or whatever, right? And then from there say, okay, well, that's when you do your threat modeling again of what can an attacker do, and if they do succeed in this, what is the detriment to the ship or to the actual rig? All right. So if I was able to get into, um, say, an engineering workstation, what can I do? You know, that's a question that you would have to say is, okay, well, um, what is the overall impact of that risk? But then you have to figure out what is the likelihood of that risk of that actually being exploited, right? So, um, like, say if I have a software on my laptop right now, all right, and I get it says the vulnerability is there that an attacker can do X, Y, and Z. But in order for to do that, an attacker has to be physically on my laptop. So that risk may not be as significant as if I had, like, say, a kiosk out sitting out in a restaurant somewhere that anyone could just walk up to. Because hopefully my laptop is a little bit more protected than that.
Yeah.
Hopefully on a rig, the engineering workstation is a little bit more protected than, obviously anyone on the rig who has access to that room can get to that workstation, but the overall still the likelihood of one of them is still slower if it's out in the middle of the ocean. Now, obviously, if it's in dry dock or on land somewhere now, or close to the pier or whatever, yeah, now you got more people that's being exposed to that workstation and to the network itself. So now your likelihood is a little bit higher. So
Mhm.
now your risk tolerance is a little bit lower. So that's what you're looking for on the rig is figuring out what is the overall detriment to the rig, right? Obviously, if someone can cause an explosion on the rig, what is the avenues that someone can get to that? Is it through steering? Is it through some type of environmentals, or is it through the galley or whatever? Is there a way into
Yeah. How
the
does
system? So that's when you have to map it all out and figure out what that is, and then figure out all the risk, all the threats against it, and then the owners and the operators. Then we present that to them and say, okay, well, here's your overall risk, and then it's up to them to figure out what their risk tolerance is, and saying, okay, well, we're going to fix this and this. We're going to leave that alone for now because obviously either we can't do it or it's going to cost too much to do it right now. So then we as a cybersecurity team, we need to then say, okay, well, they're going to fix these two, but this one over here, they're not going to fix. Well, how can we mitigate or lessen their overall risk? Do we put in more monitoring? Do we put in more protections? To fix that so that it doesn't get exposure. And it could be simply as saying, okay, well, on that engineering workstation again, we're going to put in a username password requirements with MFA, right? So that if you do figure out my password, you can't get into it because it now has two-factor authentication on it. And so now you need to figure out what my MFA is. So that could be a simple, small little step to figure out to reduce that risk on that workstation.
And this is something that cybersecurity team here at Aquila offers to offshore and oil and gas industry.
Yes, we can do a risk assessment It all starts off with first identifying everything that you have, like, understanding all of your actual little sections of, like, sectioning off its own sort of ship of the rig, and then figuring out what is inside of that, figuring out all the cables, how each one connects to another one, and then we can do the overall risk assessment and provide the risk report.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty pretty interesting, and I'm sure operators and drilling contractors alike would be interested in that. When it comes to our industry, what are some of the most high impact things we can do to mitigate, protect ourselves and the line of work that we do?
With any business, right? You have to. The first thing that you want to do is look at, what is our overall money maker, so to speak, right? How are we actually making our profit, right? So for say for Aquila, we specialize our big ticket item is our real time monitoring, right? In your house, you may say, okay, well, my kids is my most important thing in my house, or whatever. So then you want to gear your cybersecurity standpoint around protecting your money maker, or protecting in your house case your kids or whatever, right? So um, when you look at implementing a cybersecurity program, you take that the business goal, the goals of the business, and you say, okay, well, how can we uh, protect and um, implement some type of security that keeps up with the goals of the business without hampering the goals of the business, right? Because um, I can give you a tool or a process or a policy or whatever that protects you 100% of the time, right? But in order for you to use it, it's going to take you 3 hours to to
Yeah,
use
is
it.
it feasible?
Yeah, is it? So it's not really good from a business standpoint to be overly protective, but then again, it's not good from a business standpoint to be underprotected, right? So um, you first again want to focus on what are the goals of the company, how are we making our money, right? Um, Obviously, I tell people this sometimes that, as a business, you have your HR records or whatever, right? Um, if someone steals our HR records, is that going to damage the business? Not really. Business is still going to be going. Like, we're still going to be doing real time monitoring,
Yeah.
right? All the employees may be pissed, but we're still making money from a standpoint of real time monitoring still
Operating.
operating,
Yeah.
right? So yes, we want to spend more. We want to protect our HR records from fully. Yes, we want to protect our HR records. But if it comes down to we only have enough budget to protect these three things on real time monitoring, or we have enough money to protect our HR records, obviously we're going to do real time monitoring because that's the goal of the business of providing this service to our customers, right? Um, so we're going to try to mitigate and do something else for our HR records or whatever. We're going to try to isolate them or whatever. So when you look at it, you're saying, what do I need to do to make sure that we don't lose revenue? And so then you say, okay, you also look at it from a standpoint of, if an attack does occur, how can my business continue while I'm under attack, right? We come up and say, okay, well, our service is web based, right? So we're going to make sure that we have multiple locations that people can access our service from. So, like, if say we had a server in Atlanta, and that server was under attack. If we only had that one server,
We'd be stuck.
we'd be stuck. But if we have a server here in Houston, Atlanta, Denver, and Washington, D.C., okay, you're attacking my server in Atlanta, cool. I still got three more. My business is continuing. It's when the fact that now that the attackers attacked Atlanta, then they attack Houston, they attack Denver. Now Washington is the one handling all of my traffic. It's still, my customer still can get to it, but it's slower. So now it's more impactful. So you want to make sure that whatever process you put into place, the business can continue. And if it does become a detriment that all four of my servers are attacked in all four cities, what is my disaster recovery so that I can recover from this disaster? I may need to drive up to Dallas and spin up a new location in Dallas. Or right. Same thing if it's a cyber attack, or like we have here in Houston all the time, hurricanes,
Mhm.
right? Harvey. Harvey wiped out a lot of things, and business didn't come back simply because they didn't have a business continuity plan in place to say, okay, well, if there's a flood, I can't get to this location, or is all of my data in this one location? If it is, then I'm stuck. I'm done because the water just washed it all
Yeah,
away.
now it's gone.
Yes. But if I had a backup somewhere else that I can recover, or if I had another location like a cold site, a warm site, or a hot site that I can continue my business running, then I'm fine. I can take that hit of Houston going offline. I can take 12 feet of water in my building because my business is going to continue because I have it somewhere else. So that's what we need to look at um, when we're actually setting up our cyber. So same thing with the rig ship, right? If someone was to compromise this one method, am I going to lose total control of my steering? You know, um, is there a manual override for the steering outside of a computer-based system?
Mhm.
Or is the crane? If someone gets on the crane, can someone go in? Gets to the system of the crane and like moving it around? Having the ball move everywhere. Can someone actually go into the crane and turn it off? That's what we need to plan for and make sure that we have some type of way to, if we are attacked, how can we get over the attack or stop the attack or mitigate the actual overall processes to our business?
So redundancy is different. Other doors
Yes.
for security reasons.
Yes.
Yeah. Other entries, other ways of getting in. Man, no, I mean, when I go through my day to day, I mean, I know cybersecurity. I know what it is, right? I've been through the trainings a lot. Um, but it's not like it's kind of difficult to train yourself and train your whole team to have that kind of mindset on a daily basis. That everything that you look at, just be looking for key things out of that. It doesn't take any extra work. It's just, I mean, you're reading the email anyways. Just
Yeah.
read where it's going, read where it's coming from.
Yes.
It's that simple. Don't just take the body of it and then click on the link. And I know you got a lot of other things going on, but take the time. Be aware.
Yeah, that's why we did. That's again where it comes back to the first thing we talked about, which is training,
Yeah.
right? You're not going to become a great free throw shooter by only shooting free throws in a game. You got to do like 100 free throws every day after practice or whatever,
Yeah.
right? So the same thing here. We have to train in order to spot those issues because again, AI is now making them almost impossible to spot. So the old methods of spotting an issue is gone. It's more of understanding what is the overall, like you said, where's this going? Like if I click on this link, where is it going to take me? Right. And if it looks off, then it's off. It's better we always say, it's better for you to tell us, send us 30 emails a day saying, hey,
Yeah.
can you check these out? As opposed to clicking on each one of
I'm
them.
gonna let the cyber team tell me that email was fine.
Yeah, exactly.
Go ahead and reply. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't. To me, it's safer. It's safer for me to not take the risk. I just if it looks any kind of way, I just report it. But that's the training. I mean, you can't harp on that enough for any company out there. No matter what line of work you're in, what industry, training is always going to be the key. So it needs to be a focus. Closing question to wrap it up. If you had to give one piece of cybersecurity advice to a growing company today, what would that be?
It'll still be the same that we talked about. Find your most valuable asset. Your most well, yeah, find your most valuable asset and figure out how to protect that. You know, if we look at say the president of the United States, or whatever, right? The Secret Service, that's their main mission of, they got people all around to try to help protect and make sure that the president doesn't get shot or anything of that nature, right? So they have people on the perimeter, they have another set of people, and then the last line is they have people around the president that's willing to take that bullet for the president,
Mm.
right? So you have to look at it the same way in your business. What is my um, most valuable asset, whether it be my people, like if you're uh, uh, a home healthcare agency or whatever, you got your people going out to the homes, that's your bread and butter, whether it be if you're a software company and you have an application, is your code base your most prized asset, or is your availability of it, coming back to the CIA triad, what is it that you as a business, um, if someone took this away from you, you would just cease to exist, right? Whether it be your building, your code. Um, if someone took my kids away from me, I think I would cease to exist too.
Yeah.
So I need to figure out how am I going to protect my kids in all situations, whether it be at home or at school or wherever, right? Same thing when you're driving down the road. You're looking at your car. How am I going to protect my car from the next accident? Be vigilant, always looking around to see if there's some clown, switching lanes over and over and over, whatever,
Yeah.
right? So once you do that, that's the one thing. That's the main thing that you can do as a small business or any type of business is figure that out, and then you can build upon the rest of it. Of saying, okay, well, what is my overall attack surface? You can call any cybersecurity consultant or anything of that nature and say, hey, help me out here. I have this asset of X. What are all the different ways that it can go wrong? And now what do I need to do? But it could be something simple as, if I'm a really small business and everything's on my laptop, I need to protect my laptop. I need to make sure there's backups. I need to make sure that there's email protections, there's firewalls, antivirus on my laptop, all that. So everyone, no matter how big your business is, you can implement some type of cybersecurity on it.
I was about to say, some way, somehow, there's a way to get in there.
Yes,
So make
as
sure
long as it's
you're covered.
connected to. So yeah, there's one myth about uh, you know, there's an old saying that as long as it's on and connected to the internet, it's vulnerable. Right. Then it was like, well, what if I just not connect to the internet? Well, eventually you're going to put a USB stick in there some type of way, or you're going to connect to it some type of way. Right. Or you're going to have it open to humans or whatever. So it's still vulnerable, even though it may not be on the public internet. It's still potentially attackable, exploitable.
Yeah.
So,
Be aware, people. Thank you, Garrick, for
yep, no
the
problem.
conversation. I definitely took some more out of that, which didn't think I could as much training as we did. But yeah, that's awesome. I appreciate
No problem.
it. Guys, if you want to reach out, you have any cybersecurity questions, we want an assessment, especially in the offshore industry, reach out to us. We can do that for you. Till next time, take it easy.
Salute.